Hey everyone, it's me again. I'm just going to be talking to the camera for a moment, for a while, and letting you know what the plan for next year is if these goats be quiet. Today it's terrible weather, and we were going to do some stuff with the horses today, but looks like it might get a bit wet, so we're going to stay under here, and I thought I may as well come and talk to you YouTubers instead of doing things with the horses like I was going to. And I asked a question on Facebook, what would you like to see next year, because I really want to ramp up this channel and, you know, get some people watching and get it going a bit more than it is now. So I asked on Facebook what people would like to see more of. You know, do you want to see more of the gardens, or do you want to see more of training horses, or do you want to see more of just riding horses and playing around and, you know, doing what we do. And the response was basically, I got some personal messages and some comments on my Facebook that they wanted to see some more training, and also some more of what I actually do as I start the food forest adventure and so forth. So I wanted to explain a little bit too about what I do with horses, and give you a better understanding of what you might be seeing and those sorts of things. So here's my resume. I don't know everything, that's for sure. I'm still learning, just like everyone else should be. So, you know, never get arrogant enough to think that you know everything, because that's when you'll end up on the ground. But I've been training horses for a riding school. When I had Callisto Park, I was training them for that. So I had horses that most of them had never been at a riding school before. I don't think any of them had actually been at a riding school. Most of them had never seen an indoor arena, had never seen, you know, a tie-up bay like we had there, had never seen things like that worried them a little bit to start with, but with some training techniques they got over that, and we'll go over them later as we go, sort of thing. Horses are never the problem, I don't believe. It's usually people. Well, usually always people. We put them into situations that are frightening. We make them do things that they wouldn't necessarily do, as, you know, paddock ornaments or wild horses, whatever you'd like to call it. And it's interesting because, you know, your paddock ornaments are often more humanised, I guess, more people-friendly than the ridden ones. Sometimes are, you know, the show ponies are going out every weekend, sometimes aren't as... You know, I went out to a girl's place the other day with a horse that was lame, and she wanted me to have a look and see if I knew what was going on. It looks like it has a foot abscess, but anyway. The pony would whinny to you, didn't matter whether you had food or anything. It was in the house yard, lived in the house yard, and it would come up to you just like a puppy dog, you know. And there's not a lot of horses that I see. A lot of competition horses will run away from you when you go to catch them, because they think, oh no, I don't want to get ridden again. So, you know, that's an interesting lesson to learn, is, you know, it seems like the horses that are just pets and treated as such are a lot happier around people, and maybe that's something that maybe some show riders need to focus on, some competition riders need to focus on, is building their development, building their relationship with their horse, rather than just, you know, taking it out every weekend and competing it and wondering why they can't catch it and why they have issues with it. Anyway, so I'm all about developing a relationship with the horse, speaking horse as much as possible. So pressure release training is my method. I do a little bit of positive reinforcement training as well, depending on the horse. I'm a strong believer that if it's not working, change your method, because you're asking the wrong question for that particular horse and they don't understand what you're talking about. So you may as well change your language, so to speak. Otherwise you're just going to get the same result by asking the same question all the time. You know, it doesn't normally change, and if it does, it takes way too long. You know, I've had a couple of unhandled horses that if you chased them around the paddock, they'd probably just run through the fence. You know, they were terrified. So my method wasn't to do the classical join up that everyone knows about and tries and does and sometimes fails, sometimes succeeds. My method was more of a walk around and just, you know, do my own thing, really, practically ignoring them, and eventually they came over and were more curious than frightened of what was going on with those two particular ones. I have had one that was semi-handled that needed a bit more assertion, so it was a little bit more of a a dominant horse, so it did need a little bit of chasing, I guess, for lack of a better word, to let it understand that, you know, you're not the top dog anymore. So anyway, one of the questions was how to handle a horse that has a hard mouth from kids that have been, you know, pulling on the mouth as kids do. So I will go over that in the future. I've got a horse here that has the same sort of mouth. She's alright sometimes, and then some riders get on and she goes, oh no, I'm just going to be hard, you know, you can't pull me up, bugger you, I'm out of here. She doesn't bolt as such, she just walks into the bridle is what I call it, where they're very, very heavy. They're sort of like riding a Mack truck, you know, they take 5 steps to even think about stopping or turning or whatever, you know. A lot of dressage horses that have been ridden on the bit too much, like forced onto the bit, I guess, rather than ridden into the bridle, can be like that, can be like riding a Mack truck. So that just sort of gives you an example. A lot of horses on the forehand are like that. So I'll go over that with her because, you know, it's a good horse to give you an example of that. But horses are just horses. It's not their fault. I mean, it's not her fault that she's got a hard mouth. It's just something that she's learnt from, you know, riders and so forth, because she was a riding school horse, and before that she was a pony club horse. So, you know, she's had some tough hands on her, so she's just learnt to evade the bit because that's gets her out of pain, you know. So she's pressure releasing herself and has learnt that habit from humans. So it's not her fault that she's got a hard mouth, it's humans' fault pulling on it. So I work on that principle that it's never the horse's fault, it's always the human's fault. And like I said, sometimes I'll change my technique. If it's not working, I'll, you know, go away and think about it and think, hang on a minute, how can I make this work? What other techniques can I use? I'm not training event horses, I'm not training horses to race, I'm not training horses to, you know, go out and win ribbons or anything like that. I mean, there's no reason why they can't do that, and they have, you know, with some of my riders, as you've seen, have gone to pony club and gone to shows and so forth. They can do that, but you know, I just want to get them so that they can walk canter calmly, and they're exposed to all sorts of different things, so that if they do go out and compete or whatever, they're already exposed. So, you know, if some little kid opens their umbrella in front of them, they're not going to, you know, take off or buck their rider off or whatever the situation might be. So I do a lot of desensitization training, and a lot of just quietening them, making them sort of withstand anything really, or as much as I can, you know, as much as is humanly possible, I guess. So if you have any questions, or, you know, have a problem with the horse that you'd like a hand with, let me know. And certainly if I have a way of dealing with it, or a couple of ways of dealing with it, I will do a video and hopefully be able to show you what you might be able to do, and hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, well, either you're doing something wrong, or there's, you know, the horse isn't, well, basically you are doing something wrong if it's not working, because if you're not getting the right answer, you're not asking the right question. So anyway, let me have your comments, and we will see you very shortly, I imagine.